it, take it. No better than he came in. You want 2, 3, bam! Oh, he's gonna run a foul! On touch! Holy cow! What a play! Wow!
You saw it's pretty ugly in Washington, right down the road, right down 95. It's pretty ugly in Philadelphia as well today as we get ready for a late window kick. Close the windows, it's raining. A rematch of the NFC Championship game. The Eagles and the 49ers, the one hosting the two in the NFC. There has been a war of words. The Niners believe their quarterback should be healthy and they should win. We're live there in Philly coming up shortly. You're live with us now. NFL Game Day preview. Happy Week 13, everybody. That right down there is Cynthia Freeland. This is Steve White. My name is Andrew Siciliano. None of our alma maters are making the college football playoff.
Well, mine's playing in the Celebration Bowl. Howard University's
That's
playing.
good, and we can celebrate that
against Florida A&M
as well.
There we go.
Well, one of mine got a new coach. That's Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, Boston College, we got, some good things to
Good
do in
band?
Boston for Christmas. I don't know.
Big Northwestern basketball win, however. We should celebrate that
let's
over
do that.
Purdue. Syracuse also fired its head coach.
Yeah.
I personally, for the record, do not think Florida State should be in, but that's just me. Inactives and actives today. The notable names, the wide receivers who are up, like Keenan Allen and Chris Olave and Tank Dell, they are all up today. Also, the Patriots have 3 quarterbacks active. Malik Cunningham and Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, who's expected to start today for the Patriots. What about for the Jets? It is still a Tim Boyle party for the Jets. Mike Garafolo is our NFL Network insider with more news today on Aaron Rodgers. Hi, Mike, who is now practicing. The 21-day window is open, but you guys this morning on game day morning said it now seems a little less likely that Aaron actually plays in a game. What's going on?
Well, if we take everybody at their word, including
Do we?
Aaron Rodgers, who has said that, well, we never know. Yeah, I mean, do you believe what you're told on TV? Well, maybe you should in this case. I'll put it to you this way. Aaron Rodgers has said that he doesn't think he'll get the okay to get back on the field if the Jets are out of playoff contention. Look, here's the bottom line for the Jets. They've got back-to-back games at home this week and next, starting with the Falcons this week, the Texans next week. They pretty much have to win both of those games. They're 4-7 right now. They got to get to 6-7 to get into the playoff consideration at this point. They have blown opportunities to kind of stay in the mix. So that's the easiest way to Rodgers getting back on the field, obviously, is to get them in the playoff mix long enough for him to get the green light. If they are out of it, does he get the green light to play for, let's say, one drive in Week 18 or something like that? Everybody I talked to said probably not. They haven't completely ruled it out. Maybe something to just give him a little bit of a spark heading into the 2024 offseason. But the most likely scenario for Rodgers getting back on the field is the Jets to remain in the playoff contention. It's got to start today against the Atlanta Falcons in, still rainy New Jersey.
That quizzical look on my face was like, are they going to make him like a walk-on senior day? Like, hey, week 18, go walk on. You can't run, go walk on and throw a pass or two?
Yeah, well, he's got to be activated at some point because that 21-day window started, so likely added to the roster, and maybe he's the third quarterback, which would be only the emergency situation that he could play. It could be something like that. Look, right now the Jets are focusing on trying to get back in the playoff race. And in the meantime, by the way, totally okay with Rodgers back on the practice field because it at least provides a lift to everybody inside the building to maybe spark a mini little playoff run here, or at least get everybody feeling good about what they're going to see in 24.
Or sell tickets. The Jets had the wacky IG bit where he's with the headset and calling the season ticket holders and saying, why aren't you coming to games? They could do that too. They could have had Joe Flacco. I mean, he was out there for 3 months. Mike, he's starting today next door.
He is now the 37th quarterback since the Browns returned to action back in 1999 at age 38. So those are the magic numbers for Joe Flacco, who I'm told had a good week of practice, getting back into the mix, calling plays, running things in practice. It's like riding a bike, right? Except It's a little harder to ride it at 38 than it was when he was like, I don't know, 25 or so. But right now with Dorian Thompson-Robinson ruled out with a concussion, Joe Flacco is the best hope for the Cleveland Browns to keep them in the playoff contention. I'm told they feel really confident with what they're able to do from a playbook standpoint, given that he hasn't been there very long, but certainly was a quick study.
And they know what happened last year, week 2, when he threw like 8 touchdown passes in the final minutes to rip the Browns' hearts out in Cleveland. I was out of practice this week at UCLA. He looked good. Line of the week. Somebody asked Kevin Stefanski.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Don't even need sources. Andrew's there.
Is Joe excited? Like, is he like what was his reaction? And Stefanski deadpan. No one has ever accused Joe of being enthusiastic. So there's that. Browns Jets. Thank you, Mike Garafolo.
You got it.
All right. Here's where the NFC playoff picture looks. Just imagine if the Bills had somehow beaten the Eagles last week, then this game would be for number 1 in the NFC. Alas, that is not the case, but the Niners can get to 10 wins today and get to within striking distance. 9 wins, beg your pardon, I bad eyes. The monitor's not that close, and get to within striking distance today. Either way, this is a rematch of the NFC Championship game. If you have not heard, we have heard, and we are excited for multiple reasons. 1, we get the Niners and the Eagles, and 2, because Stacey Dales is with us live in rainy Philadelphia. Hi, Dales.
Hi there. I'm so glad to be with you guys, and there's action happening around me because kickoff is still just about 4 hours away. The tarp is actually coming off the field right now. It has been raining all day, but it's just sort of a light mist right now. We'll see if it affects this game at all. It's such an interesting storyline, Andrew and company, because of the rematch. But I can honestly tell you, having spoken with players from both teams, that they haven't talked about it a whole lot. I would tell you that George Kittle said to me the only thing they've really talked about when it pertains to that game is better protecting their quarterback, Brock Purdy. But there's such a level of admiration and respect for each other coming into this one. When I spoke with Kittle, he said the Eagles are 10-1, and it hasn't been pretty, but they are winning games against a very difficult stretch of opponents. I mean, you guys have alluded to it in the show, but Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, the Niners today, and Dallas next week. It's just a brutal schedule, and they've won those games. And Kittle said, these are the challenges that I love because that's how you're able to measure where your team is at. And so coming into this one, we know they're the favorite. That's another interesting storyline with these 49ers, you guys. They've won 3 in a row, and offensively, Kittle told me it's our ability to take care of the football. They're averaging just about 31 points per game in this 3-game win streak. And in their 8 wins this season, they have just 3 total giveaways. In those 3 losses right before the bye, 7 giveaways. So that's going to be a big key today. And I would just finish before you guys come back out here, if you do in Philly, that the Eagles have to start fast. These Niners lead the NFL with 7 touchdowns on opening drives. Can't afford to play behind against the San Francisco 49ers, so they're favored for a lot of reasons. And I didn't even mention the #1 scoring defense.
Yeah, it's good on so many levels. And the Niners have spent months and months and months and months now, Cynthia, saying, well, geez, if only our quarterback had been healthy. They've got to keep Brock Purdy upright today so we don't have a repeat of the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the one thing that the Eagles are sick of hearing. Like, okay, put your quarterback out there and let's see if he can stay healthy. Because the big issue with the 49ers is protecting Brock Purdy, which they've done a great job of all season long. They've only allowed 21 sacks. Now, a lot of that is due to Purdy getting the ball out on schedule. As you see right here, when he got hurt by Hassan Reddick in the playoff game, he had to pat the ball. The Eagles' defense really covered their receivers on this play. But that's a different story this year. We know the Eagles' secondary, Cynthia, is a question mark with that defense right there. So Brock Purdy could have some opportunities. And I also think we could see George Kittle and Deebo Samuel underneath in the intermediate range because the Eagles' linebackers are also susceptible. So this is a situation. If Brock Purdy stays healthy with an offensive line that's done well, they could move the ball. But one thing Stacey said real quick about the Eagles playing with a lead, they come from behind better than anybody in the NFL in the fourth quarter. That's something that the Niners don't do So if the Eagles go into the fourth quarter with a lead, that could be problematic.
Well, also, you're talking about A.J. Brown. He's a problem for pretty much every opposing defense. We did kind of see a little bit of the formula for him on how to at least slow him down last week, and that's to play zone. Because if you man him up, good luck. I'll take you one-on-one, and I will see you in the end zone, and you'll be there after me. So when you're looking at A.J. Brown and his impact on the game, explosive plays, especially in the rain when you have weird conditions like that, that could be a big factor in this matchup. So slowing him down will be key, especially since when you're looking at the Niners defense and you see like what they do up front, they're shifting. Like I saw Bosu on the inside, I saw Hargrave on the outside. They're doing crazy stuff, shifts, all of these different types of things. If you can get past that, it's just going to be hard if they can keep those explosive plays happening.
I would just add to the conversation something Steve touched on with the Eagles defense. They are so banged up in the middle when you talk about those intermediate routes. Zach Cunningham's out of this game with the hamstring injury. Christian Ellis will be taking over in his spot. They had to bring up Ben Van Summeren from the practice squad this week. So when I spoke with Kittle on the phone, guys, it was him who brought up how banged up the Eagles team is in that linebacker core. And for a team that plays a lot of two-shell defensively, you can really run the ball against a two-shell. So not only look for that from the 49ers, which is something they do, that is their priority, but that underneath game, like Steve Weitz just alluded to, because of the situation with these linebackers for Philadelphia.
And the other storyline hanging over this, Shaquille Leonard watching the Cowboys and the Eagles, trying to figure out where he should go. Cowboys already won on Thursday, a nail-biter over the Seahawks. Stacey Dales live there in Philadelphia ahead of the Eagles and the Niners in the rain. We thank you, Dales.
Sun's out.
Derek Carr's sun's, I guess, out, but they're indoors. Steve Weitz in New Orleans. The Saints are facing a team with a winning record today. They have yet to beat a team with a winning record this year. They're 0 for 3. They were also 0 for 5 in the red zone last week as we go live to New Orleans and say hi to Tom Pelissero. And the Saints have a long list of injuries. Tom, how are they looking?
That's right, Andrew. The Saints are banged up at a time that you mentioned Derek Carr. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in the past 2 games. A little bit of good news on that front. Wide receiver Chris Olave officially active after clearing the concussion protocol. That's particularly big when you remember Michael Thomas is on injured reserve and Rashid Shaheed is out today. Defensive end Cameron Jordan also active for the Saints despite not practicing the entire week. He's been dealing with an ankle injury, but he wanted to give it a go. We'll see how much he ends up playing in this game as the Saints try to stay alive in that NFC South playoff picture. Meanwhile, the Lions still on top in the NFC North. Big message in their building this week was there's no reason to panic. Let's get back to our identity and play that physical brand of football. Some good news on that front for them. David Montgomery on the injury report this week with a foot. I was told if you watched him in practice, you wouldn't really know that he was hurting. Montgomery will get the start. You'll see plenty of Jahmyr Gibbs, too.
All right, Tom Pelissero doing great work there in New Orleans. Disappointed there's no dance team for this team.
We're right over here.
Go for it, Tom. Work it. Thank you. Tom Pelissero in New Orleans. Last game on the schedule this year for the Saints against a team with a winning record. It's a team, however, in the Lions that have turned the ball over a lot, which puts more pressure the last couple of weeks on that defense.
Yeah, the defense has not played well. They've given up explosive plays. They have not played well in the passing game, in the red zone. In the last few games, they're giving up 31 points a game. Again, you talked about the turnovers. This is a game they better get well because the Saints just can't score. That is an issue. They're averaging offensively less than 20 points a game. The number goes up when you include some defensive scores. But this is where the secondary has got to get better. And Cynthia, you know this pass rush with Aiden Hutchinson has not been getting home. They've got some opportunities against Derek Carr with what they like to do offensively with the Saints. With Shaheed out, you know there's going to be a lot of quick passing game as well. But they've got to put pressure on this offense, and the defense, again, has got to get going. Because the Saints are going to make a legit playoff run, it has to be the defense that has to tighten things up more so than the offense.
My favorite football advice is always to keep something off the field, right? Keep the Lions defense off the field. How do you do that? Run the football. You've seen the Saints get run on. You saw it last week, in fact, with the Falcons. But I'm also wanting to point out here, it's both running backs. I know David Montgomery was on the injury report earlier this week. He is up. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy runs really, really fast. In fact, he's very explosive. So the duo of them. And then I have a little, sneaky added one here. Malcolm Rodriguez. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at no, he's talking to Deuce McAllister. Yeah. But David Montgomery is out there barefoot.
Yeah, because he's tough. Michigan people we are tough. We don't need shoes. Who needs shoes? Anyways, Malcolm Rodriguez, I do want to point out, he could actually play on both sides of the football. He's really fun. He's going to be very much a candidate for that helps no one touchdown. But ultimately, I think that addition could be another factor in getting that run game going to keep the Lions defense off the field.
Jared Goff has turned the ball over 6 times in the last 2 games. I'm just
you know what?
Joke I couldn't think of.
Wait.
Time.
Here's what it is. You know how else you don't turn the ball over? Run the football.
Run the football is good. This, by the way, is Jared Goff's first trip back, I believe, to the Superdome since the 2018 NFC Championship game. Yes, Nickel Roby-Coleman probably got there too early, but did anyone see Jared's face mask on the previous
there it
drive
is.
get turned all the way backwards?
Who needs a head?
There was no flag on that, kids. Was there? No, there wasn't. So quit your yapping. Coming up next, Ohio State's not making the playoffs. Sorry, guys. But C.J. Stroud might take the Texans to the postseason. Coming up, we're live in Houston ahead of their huge game against the Denver Broncos. You're watching NFL Game Day Preview. You're going to follow the games all day right here on the NFL.
The Broncos are 1-5. So far, it hasn't been so good.
I think the best thing we can do is just keep believing.
We're going to set the tone. We're going to set the tone.
What a throw and catch.
This is a huge win. They fought their butts off tonight. Wilson leaps into the end zone. Touchdown. This has been one of the craziest turnarounds within a season.
Yeah, it's been a crazy turnaround. Dangerous is mildly dangerous again. And the Broncos are in the mix. They are the 9 seed today. This is the 9-8 game. I mean, 6 weeks ago, did anyone see this game as a primo playoff seeding game in the AFC? The Broncos and the Texans all trying to get up to where the Colts and the Browns and the Steelers potentially are for a wild card. Nope, that's what it is. The Denver Broncos are tied with the Eagles for the longest active winning streak at 5 right now in the NFL. Partly, hi there, James Palmer, lovely tie, because of that defense and all the turnovers that they have forced of late.
Yeah, Andrew, it's been so interesting talking to guys in that Broncos locker room about how all these turnovers are happening. Yes, they're a smart defense. Yes, they're attacking defense. But when I talked to star safety Justin Simmons, he told me it's really Patrick Surtain. He called him the chess piece of the defense. And it's not even that one of the best corners in football, if not the best corner in football, is actually, getting his hand on the football. He's not. It's because of the way they use him schematically throughout his placement that is forcing offenses to do different things, Simmons told me, to where it puts offenses in a position where they go towards where the Broncos have a lot of resources. It was fascinating when he said, what Surtain is doing reminds me of what Von Miller used to do to offenses when he was a star pass rusher for here with the Denver Broncos. He said he always acquired help, whether it was a tight end or a running back, and that changed what offenses could do. It changed what we could do. What Surtain does at the cornerback spot is the same as a dominant pass rusher, forcing offenses into certain situations that Vance Joseph and his group are capitalizing on.
Wow, I mean, JP, that says a lot. It harkens me back to Rex Ryan when they had Darrelle Revis with the Jets, where he said, we're playing 10 on 10.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening here with Patrick Surtain. By the way, as Andrew said, Andrew and I are big floral tie guys. That is a very slick tie.
This is
very nice. But
it matches my cleats.
Oh, sneakers. I love that. I don't have one of those. I don't have any of those. But I do want to talk about the Denver Broncos run game, because this is something where Houston's defense is really going to be stressed, because James talked about how well the Broncos defense is playing. The Broncos are going anti-Sean Payton, and they are running the hell out of the ball on their 5-game win streak. I looked at the numbers right here, Andrew. 157 rushes the last 5 games against the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Browns, who we know are good against the run.
Their last 4 games against teams with winning records,
correct,
to your point.
40 rushes against Kansas City, 38 against Buffalo, 39 against Cleveland. There's no secret what they are now. They're going to line up, and they are going to mash. This offensive line is playing very well right now. The talent is based to run the football. So this is something where the Texans' defensive front, including their inside linebackers, who are very good, are going to be challenged to hold up over 4 quarters, because Sean Payton is not going to ask Russell Wilson to make a lot of plays with the way that they're running the football.
And that's exactly what the Texans see on film, Steve. When I talked to Christian Harris at the linebacker position, he said there's 2 things we got to account for. It's the run. Our defensive line has to knock back this offensive line that, if you ask Sean Payton, is really the reason why they're running the football so well. The chemistry up front and this group coming together has been a big part of this offensive success. And he said, 2, it's the checkdowns to these 3 running backs. That is essentially the offense that the Texans are preparing for. It's running the football, as over this 5-game win streak, the Broncos are running it over 31 times a game.
Wow.
And it's also those checkdowns to all 3 of these backs, that they rotate all 3 of these physical backs. That's the Texans' concern up front. We'll see if they can slow it down, because it's been an interesting offense to watch, guys, but nobody's really been able to fully stop it, in a sense, and really hold it when it gets to the red zone.
The Broncos were able to gash the Browns on the ground last week, but it was a lot of run on first, run on second. Russell backpedal, throw a jump ball to Cortland Sutton on 3rd down, but hey, it worked. And the Broncos have now won 5 in a row with a turnover margin in that 5, 16-3. James Palmer, great tie in Houston. Let's go to Washington. That is Tua Tagovailoa. The tarp is off the field as the Dolphins get ready as an 8-3 4 seed in the American Football Conference to take on the Commanders at 4-8. Dolphins have not won the AFC East since 2008. They can take a little bit of a step closer to that today. Hi there, Sherry Burris, with a win over the reeling Commanders.
Well, Andrew, it's so funny. It seems like as good as Miami is, they are just still getting even better. It's kind of a gloomy day here, a little chilly, but that is not going to slow down the Dolphins. The rain has kind of subsided. I talked to Tua pregame. He said he is not worried about the cleat situation, and he shouldn't be. Particularly, he shouldn't worry about much, actually, on offense with his playmakers. You're talking about Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert at the running back position. Pregame actually spoke to one of the Commanders' defensive coaches, and he said that Hill might actually even be underrated, if you can imagine, and he is so hard to tackle because he's elusive. And in that same conversation with Tua, he said the way their defense has been playing and has improved since week 8, that allows this offense to play more free, be themselves. They know they need to capitalize when they get the ball back. And slightly turning our attention to defense, I said they've improved since week 8. This week they did just add 2-time Super Bowl champion Jason Pierre-Paul. We are learning that he will play only limited snaps here today, guys.
Yeah, look, I mean, we know also that Dolphins defense, Jalen Phillips out with that Achilles injury. That's a big blow. But you know, I also want to look at the fact that the Dolphins offense. This is one right now. Sherry talked about how they're rolling. They're playing a defense that's given up 105 points the last 3 games. I mean, there's going to be some opportunities for the Miami Dolphins. And this is where Mike McDaniel, right? We've seen some of the Svengali coaching he's doing with his guys. He's got to keep them locked in because they're playing Washington. Then they play the Jets and the Titans after this. This is not a gauntlet, a murderer's row. This is easy for a team that's playing well to lose its focus. So we'll see how tight they keep it today under these weather conditions. So Sherry, you know, I'm just kind of want to get back to you when you talk about the Dolphins and their playmakers, how they think they're going to fare against a defense. Again, fire Jack Del Rio as their DC and is not playing well right now.
Well, that's exactly it, Steve. You know, talking to the players on defense in the locker room this week, they all said really not much is changing for them. A few players did say it's weird not hearing Del Rio's voice, but at practice, I didn't really hear much from Ron Rivera in a defensive front, but Rivera did say he wants to simplify the scheme. And talking to defensive end Jonathan Allen, he said that means they'll be able to play faster. And as we talked about the skill set that the Miami has on their offense, this defense will have to play fast, and they will have their work cut out for them.
That defense has given up the most touchdown passes in the NFL, also given up the most touchdowns from outside the red zone.
Ooh, is that good?
In other words, explosives. Dolphins, explosive. Commanders, Sherry Burris there. Thank you. At FedEx Field. A loss today by the Commanders guarantees a 7th consecutive non-winning season or season without a winning record. That's better English, Andrew. Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. Are they making the playoffs? We have the numbers for you and the rest of the AFC. Maybe we'll do the NFC as well. Cynthia is back for that. You're watching NFL Game Day Preview.
everything you got. We gonna show them who the real Lions are.
Hey, we don't. Each and every one of us.
Let's go!
Tua puts it right on the money.
What a great read by Trevor Lawrence.
Let's go!
Travis Kelce, he is running a clinic.
Touchdown! Always about us, baby.
Let's go!
Lamar extended and Zay Flowers delivered.
I told you!
Caught Calvin Ridley.
I need another one.
Mahomes, magic.
Great job, dog.
All right, it's time to get real, everybody. It is week 13. These playoff standings mean something. So much so, Cynthia Freeland gets not only the A block today, she gets the B block as well.
And we get to stand up.
And this is a big deal. All right, if the playoffs were to start today, they don't, by the way. Here are the top 7 teams. These 7 make the AFC playoffs. You think the chalk at the top is pretty much in, right?
Chalk.
Ooh, okay, so you have the Dolphins as the 3 seed.
I have the Dolphins as the 3 seed.
4 division winners get the top 4 seeds. Who then is your 4 seed?
By 6 percentage points, basically a win last week, the Jaguars.
Okay, so the Jacksonville Jaguars, who went into Houston last week, won there. They get the split. They split the home and home. You have them projected as the 4 seed, which means they would host a playoff game, potentially. Who knows? It could be against the Houston Texans. Now it gets interesting. It doesn't look like we're going to get 4 teams in from the AFC North anymore. Likely 3, we think. Okay, the Steelers and the Browns and the Colts, do they all get in, or does one of them get bounced?
Well, actually, it's funny because actually the Texans here have the 5 seed. Yeah, I know. Now, the win over a projected win over the Broncos is really what solidifies that today. Now, it would be different if not. They'd switch down to 7. But then you've got the Steelers coming in here at 6, and the Browns, who I don't forecast to win today, but still sneaking in with the 7.
Okay, as the day starts right now, the Broncos and the Texans are the 8 and the 9 in no specific order. They're going to play against each other today. And remember, the Colts and the Texans, that's obviously a division game. They play again in a couple of weeks. As of now, Indianapolis has the 1-up on the Texans. So if they are tied today, at the end of the day, it's still going to be Indianapolis in front of Houston. The NFC, oh, what could have been fun if the Eagles had lost last week, and then this right now would be today in Philadelphia for the 1 seed. It is not. We all know the Eagles are getting in. They actually have a clinching scenario today.
Chalk.
Okay.
So far.
Now, somebody has to win the NFC.
That's right. The funny part is actually the Cowboys here, they're at over 99% to get to the playoffs. So while they aren't winning the division, these are all the 99% club. These guys are pretty much in, right? And then I have the Falcons just narrowly edging out the Saints for the win because last week they beat the Saints. It is a narrow number, though. This is in the 50s. They could still get bounced, per my math.
Now, this is a
This is a cluster right here. So the interesting part is actually, I think that we have a scenario here. Seahawks go back in 7, Vikings in 6. However, the Rams, the difference in percentage points between Vikings, Seahawks, and Rams is minuscule.
Rams have swept the Seahawks.
Insane, I know.
And you have the Rams winning today.
I have the Rams winning today, but remember, there's still a few more games out there, like 5, so.
As of now, the Eagles, the Niners, the Lions, the Falcons.
Boring.
And then it gets interesting. But then the Falcons would have to host the Cowboys on Wild Card Weekend, potentially as a team that won a division with a losing record.
By the way, a team that's not even on here, the Packers, they could sneak their way into this playoff picture. They're like right here, right under the Rams. It's like Rams, Packers, everyone else beyond that.
Packers and the Chiefs in the Sunday night game at Lambeau on NBC. A double dose of Cynthia Freeland today, both the A and the B
standing. I don't just sit, ladies and gentlemen. I also stand.
Back to Game Day morning. Happy Week 13.
Thank you.
We're rolling on NFL Game Day preview. Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins about to kick in Washington. I regret to inform you, Jalen, Florida State did not make the college football playoff. I'll tell you who's in coming up. NFL Game Day preview on the NFL channel. We also have college football news for you. Michigan is #1 in the college football playoff, the Final Four. You know that by now. Michigan is playing Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Pac-12 champion Washington, the final Pac-12 champion, plays Texas in the Sugar Bowl. That is your college football Final Four. All right. This, however, is still an NFL show. Getting ready for Week 13. My name is Andrew Siciliano. This is our fantasy expert, Michael F. Florio. The F is for fun. Florio, good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have 6 teams on buys, so you might have to go to the waiver wire to win pivotal Week 13 games. If I need a waiver wire quarterback today, Florio, who would that be?
Russell Wilson.
A waiver wire quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Let's ride.
Okay.
Right? Like, the Houston Texans, for last season, they couldn't stop the run. They were hard to pass against. This year, it is the opposite. They have been stingy against the run. They have allowed the 4th most passing yards since Week 8. Russell Wilson himself have been running more, which we know is huge for fantasy, and I think this is a week where the Broncos have to put up points. But if he was picked up in your league already, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, some other streaming options.
Okay, Derek Carr's gone a couple of games without throwing a touchdown pass. Last 2, but Chris Olave is active today. Give me a waiver wire running back today.
We're going to go with Tyler Algier, because I think if you're Arthur Smith and you're looking at this Jets game, you're like, they're not going to score a whole bunch of points with Tim Boyle.
Or is this him like going, I can't let Bijan Robinson go off 2 games in a row?
It's a little of both.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a bunch of Bijan and Tyler Algier this week, because I think they're going to limit Desmond Ridder throwing the ball. They know the Jets aren't going to put up a whole bunch of points, and the way that the Jets defense could get them in the game is by their secondary making a play. And the Jets have allowed the 3rd most rushing yards to running backs since Week 8. The strength of the Falcons offense is the running game. So I think Bijan runs wild. Tyler Algier could get a lot of volume today, and he's always a sneaky candidate to get some goal line touches.
He's a sneaky goal line guy, that Tyler Algier. Wide receiver off the waiver wire today?
Jaden Reed, 15+ in 3 straight games. He's kind of like the Wisconsin Deebo Samuel there. You're going to see him get used in the passing game. You're going to see him get used in the rushing game. And his targets are shorter and safer than Christian Watson, so his floor is safer. But we're seeing more upside out of him. And speaking of upside, they'll probably have to throw the ball to keep up with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who are pretty good on the other side. So I think Jaden Reed could get a bump in volume.
Your waiver wire defense is a sneaky good one that may or may not be available in your league.
They're not available in my league because I picked them up last week, and I think you want to get ahead of these Jets matchups a week before, so go look for the Texans in your league this week. The Jets last week with Tim Boyle, they allowed 21 fantasy points to the Miami Dolphins, 2 interceptions, 7 sacks, a pick 6, and that is the thing. The floor is high when you're streaming against the Jets, but the ceiling is that your defense could give you a performance that flips your fantasy matchup for the week. I mean, if you get 20+ out of your defense, that's like having an RB2 at your defensive spot. So yeah, you want to get the Falcons in your lineup.
All right, so the Falcons are your sneaky defensive waiver wire pickup today. You can see Michael F. Florio every Monday and Wednesday right here, streaming on the NFL channel with the NFL Fantasy Football Show. There is a game tonight. Let's do that one. Let's do Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This one's at Lambeau. Patrick Mahomes' very first game ever to Lambeau Field. We're looking at Jordan Love, over 225. Christian Watson, his number is 40. Travis Kelce scoring with a single game parlay of plus 355 on this one. Who do you like scoring, Florio, at Lambeau tonight on NBA?
Wasn't a name we saw there, but I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco, who we did see score 2 touchdowns last week. The Packers this year have allowed the 7th most rushing touchdowns to running backs, and Jerick McKinnon has already been ruled out. And I know for fantasy that's not like a huge deal, but he is often used near the goal line because we know the Chiefs love to throw when they get there. That could mean even more of a boost for Isaiah Pacheco. I feel bad for that turf or grass in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, he runs angry at the ground, the frozen tundra, which may not be frozen actually today. We know it won't be frozen, although it was chilly this morning here in Los Angeles at SoFi for the really sneaky good game. Now that the Rams are winning again, Browns-Rams, who scores in that one?
He returned last week, scored 2 touchdowns. I'm riding with the hot hand in Kyren Williams here for the Rams. The Browns have been extremely stingy against the pass. They're a little bit weaker against the run in comparison there, and I think this will be a close-scoring game with Joe Flacco as the quarterback for the Browns. So I expect the Rams to kind of rely on their running back today and try to ask Matt Stafford to do a little bit less than he did last week.
We mentioned we have a clinching scenario for the Eagles. There is an elimination scenario. If the Panthers fall to the Bucs in Tampa, Carolina is officially out. Who scores in that one?
Rachaad White. This is the safest bet of them all, in my opinion. The Panthers have allowed a league-leading 16 rushing touchdowns to running backs, 19 total. That is by far the most in the league. White sees so much volume every week, has 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games, and I think this is a game where, hot take, the Bucs will probably have a lead, which means that we're going to see a whole bunch of Rachaad White down the stretch.
Hot take. Watch Chris Tabor, interim head coach, lead the Panthers to victory.
Ooh.
I don't know if I believe it. I do believe Florida knows what he's talking about. However, that is Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app. Use the promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Coming up next on NFL Game Day Preview, what in the wide world of sports is Kyler Murray wearing? Yo, is that a duvet cover from like a 9-year-old's bedroom? What is that? Like, seriously, is that a pillow? Kyler, can we snuggle? Let's get comfy. We're going to Pittsburgh next.
You want to know what time it is? Time to play some football. Woo! Ah! Let's go!
It's right here, baby. They can't stop us.
Hey, hey, hey! I was stiff arming down while I was running.
The jerseys are stretchy as but the pants, not so much. Let's go finish this game, Kels. I'm glad you saw it. I didn't know if you were going to do it. Hat trick. Hat trick. You want more? Come on, keep going. Are you not entertained?
Fun stuff last week, and fun stuff for Pat Freiermuth as well. First play of the game for Kenny Pickett. Mike Sullivan dialed up Pat Freiermuth. Another country heard from. As my father used to say, do the Steelers keep the offensive good vibes going today? They get the Cardinals, and we get in Pittsburgh, Omar Ruiz.
So the Steelers finally get more than 400 yards of offense, including Pat Freiermuth, 9 catches, 120 yards last week against Cincinnati. I asked Freiermuth just a few minutes ago what was clicking in that game, and he said everything. Kenny Pickett's accuracy certainly was on display. I asked somebody close to Pickett this week what was clicking for him, and he said the conviction with which he was playing, the conviction in the game plan, the conviction in what he was reading from the defense, and the conviction with which he was throwing. Pickett was asked, how do they build on that this week? And he said, points. We need more points. Yards are great, but points win games. As for the Cardinals, they haven't won in Pittsburgh since 1969, the year we landed on the moon. I asked Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell what a win here would mean for the Cardinals organization, and he said it would be huge, not only to continue to lay the foundation for the future here, but to give confidence for this 2023 group.
Omar, thank you. You know what's also huge? This is Omar's tweet from yesterday. The My Cause, My Cleats here that Omar is wearing. He put this up on the Twitter. It's big help here from the Houston Texans. My Cause, My Cleats, cancer research. As Omar's great wife, Ashley, beat cancer. She's one of our favorite humans.
Yes.
And we are so happy that Ashley is doing well. Omar has a beautiful family, 3 beautiful little girls, and this is awesome. Thank you to the Houston Texans for helping Omar out with his cleats today. You're watching NFL Game Day Preview. As we get ready to look at this one, Steve White with Kenny Pickett, 400 yards of offense. It's like a brave new world for this team.
It really is. A first off, shout out for the My Cause, My Cleats initiative
Absolutely.
going around the league. We're going to see a lot of players do that. And to Omar, as you mentioned, Andrew Ashley, the colorectal cancer was a hell of a battle, but she's doing great right now. So to get to the game itself, you know, we're looking at Kenny Pickett. They're going to score. They have to score points today. They had 400 yards of total offense. They got to get the ball in the end zone. Only 16 points last week.
So he mentioned 1969, the last time the Cardinals won in Pittsburgh. It was Jim Hart for the Cardinals. Okay, you know who was playing quarterback? This is Derek Carr, but who was playing quarterback for the Steelers?
Terry Hanratty.
Dick Shiner.
There we go.
0% chance I would have got that.
Okay. 0% chance Derek Carr. No, I'm kidding. He's got to turn it around today, Florida.
Yeah, I think this is a favorable spot for him in the Saints passing attack. The Lions have allowed a whole bunch of production through the air as of late. They've also been phenomenal when they get 9 days or more rest on offense. So I think the Lions offense is going to put up plenty of points, which is going to mean Derek Carr's going to have to throw. A lot of targets for Kamara and some for Jawan Johnson.
All right, Derek Carr and the Saints need to get a win today. The Dolphins trying to win the division for the first time in 15 years. They are in Washington today to face the Commanders. Has anyone watched the brand new Hard Knocks, the in-season one on Max? It's awesome, and you get to see a different side of Tua Tagovailoa. He's always humble, he's always modest, but he is always working. I love the guy. Check it out. I think Tua gets it rolling today and puts aside something that a lot of us forgot. He threw 2 picks in the final 2 minutes of that first half on Black Friday. That was not good. And before the Javon Holland punt return, or rather Hail Mary return, and he's inactive today, it looked as if the Dolphins might actually let that game slip away. Time now for one big question. All right, this is kind of a new thing we're doing.
I like this.
One big question. Steve White, can the Colts hold on to their playoff spot without Jonathan Taylor?
Yes, it's going to be tough, but I mean, Zach Moss is more than capable to come in. We saw him play very well early this year. His carries went down as soon as Jonathan Taylor came back. But Zach Moss can get them the dub. This is not going to be easy for Indianapolis against the Titans today, but absolutely they can hang on to that spot.
Okay, I think they can as well. As Zach Moss likes to say, he's a pretty good back as well.
He is.
That story posted right now on NFL.com. Florio, the question for you. Mac Jones is active today. So is Malik Cunningham, and Bailey Zappi will start for the Patriots. Have we seen the last of Mac Jones?
Maybe we see Mac Jones come in if there's an injury or mop-up duty late in the year, something like that. But him playing meaningful football in New England, I think so. Like, I think after this season, we're going to see the Patriots kind of blow things up here. And even if something was to happen to Zappe or if he struggles, like, I want to see Malik Cunningham. Like, we know what Mac Jones is.
Same.
Let's have some fun, at least, for the final 4 or 5 weeks of the season and see what this offense could be like with a mobile quarterback who could do some things different than Zappe and Mac.
Malik Cunningham played in the NFLPA game in the Senior Bowl on NFL Network in 2023. I want to see him play football for the New England Patriots on NFL Network.
About time.
In 2023. All right, the story this morning from Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo discussed it about 50 minutes ago on this show is Steve Weich that Aaron Rodgers now maybe won't come back because it looks as if the Jets won't have anything to play for. On the screen, how seriously should we take Aaron Rodgers' return effort?
Well, I mean, his effort is tremendous. We should take that, but will it result in him playing? He's not going to play. I mean, I'm just going to say this right here. Too much of a risk for him going forward, but I salute his effort to get back. I mean, no player, there's an old saying, I've covered this game for a long time, no player wants to have their last play be being carted off the football field.
Sure.
So hooray to his efforts coming back, but he's not going to play, as Mike just said, meaningful football until 2024.
Part of me thinks this is a message being sent today, because remember, they had Aaron Rodgers, the Jets did on their Instagram earlier this week, like making season ticket calls in a wacky bit, right? Like sitting there at a desk in a partition, like sitting there in a cubicle with the headset on. Part of me thinks this is a friendly reminder, hey team, if you want any shot, you better go out there and win today. But they've had that reminder really for the last month, and they haven't
the passive-aggressive approach, it's getting a little more contagious to the organization?
You said it, not me.
They didn't know that they had to win these games prior to this?
Oh, that was news.
What are we doing?
Also news, we're 10 minutes away from kickoff in Houston.
The Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud.
Pure, natural thrower.
Bring a leader or bring me.
C.J. firing downfield to his right. Tagged down to the house. C.J. Stroud with more magic. C.J. looking, throwing to the end zone. Caught, touchdown. Are you kidding?
Stroud has got 6. He's in for the touchdown.
And he has 3 interceptions in this game.
Steph Curry don't ever stop shooting.
What a throw by Stroud.
I don't got no shame in my game. I'm keep letting it ride.
You know, I think if any other kid, Flory, I say kid meaning rookie, we're all getting older, C.J. Stroud's a young man. If any other rookie said, hey, I'm Steph Curry, which is kind of what he did, people would have laughed. I don't think we're laughing at it.
No.
We're not.
No. I mean, he has played himself into the MVP discussion. He leads the league in 300-yard passing games this year and passing yards per game. And this is a really interesting one because the Denver Broncos secondary since like week 5 or 6 on has been one of the best in football. Patrick Surtain is going to make life tough on Nico Collins and Tank Dell. They've allowed the fewest yards to slot receivers, which will make life tough for Noah Brown. This is the game that I'm most interested to watch in the early window because it is something's got to give game, right? Like this great Broncos secondary against one of the best passing attacks in football, which when's the last time we said that about a rookie-led passing attack?
Yeah, look, and one thing that Houston doesn't do well is run the football. So this is going to really favor to what the Broncos do defensively. They're very good up front. They are getting better up front now. They got some personnel healthy. And they are going to get pressure on C.J. Stroud if he's got to do what he's done all season, and that's drop back and throw it almost 40 times a game. We heard James Palmer earlier talk about what Patrick Surtain does to basically make it 10-on-10 football. If that gets into this type of game, Denver has got an opportunity to make things very difficult on this Texans offense.
I thought it was great what Vance Joseph and Surtain did last week, early in the game against the Browns on 3rd down. You'd think Surtain would be on Amari Cooper, right? On 3rd down, he knew with the rookie quarterback likely looks to the tight end. Surtain moved inside and took David Njoku.
Yeah.
So give Vance Joseph credit here. That Broncos defense has done the complete 180 since September. If you haven't heard yet, they gave up 70 in a game in September. We haven't mentioned that. No. Not on this show, at least, until now. All right, we ready for some Sunday statements?
Do it.
All right, White, make a statement. This is kind of like a bold prediction.
In the bad weather, the Patriots defense gets 2 takeaways, and they upset the Los Angeles Chargers to give them something to be happy about and the Chargers to fly home with the Blues with.
Is that really, though, an upset?
you have to
It is.
call it
By
an upset.
records, it's an upset. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Bailey Zappi, Malik Cunningham against Justin Herbert, that has to be an upset.
Yes, that is absolutely an upset. However, both teams disappointing. This was a game that when the schedule came out back in May, you went, okay, that's a good one. No, it isn't. Florio, Sunday statement.
Tua Tagovailoa and Sam Howell are going to combine for over 600 yards and 6 touchdowns today. The Commanders allow the most production through the air. They allow the most production on deep passes. No offense picks up more yards and touchdowns on long balls than the Miami Dolphins. And then when they put up their points, Sam Howell gets to do what Sam Howell does best, and that's in playing catch-up mode and just throw the ball 40-plus times a week. So I think both of these quarterbacks put up big numbers, even though the Miami Dolphins pull off the win. Both of these quarterbacks like it.
Sam Howell has been carrying my fantasy team, which, by the way, is awful. They're not good. But he's been carrying the team because he leads the league in passing yardage. Checking the numbers here, still 3,339 passing yards for one Sam Howell. He, however, also still leads the league in sacks taken, although the number is kind of leveled off. It's only 55. So you're going with the bad weather. They are still going to light this up.
I would prefer better weather, but yeah,
Okay.
I think these offenses still get it done today.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to piggyback off that. My Sunday statement, find the single. Tyreek Hill will score 3 touchdowns today in a game for the first time since 2021. Tyreek Hill is going to go off. And yeah, the weather has me concerned, to be honest with you. I made this prediction on Friday without looking at the Doppler 5000 AccuWeather, whatever forecast, but I'm going to stick with it. Tyreek Hill, 3 touchdowns.
You're good.
Today.
One might be on a handoff.
My fantasy teams would.
I think it might happen. Yeah. I had to look it up. Had he ever done 3 where one of them was on the ground? He has never done that. He's going to score 3 touchdowns today. I'm not going to specify how, however, he scores those 3 touchdowns.
You got to call it off the glass, Andrew. Come on, bro.
We're 3 minutes away from kickoff. Or 4. I don't know. Just watch right. It might be. Florio, thank you. Steve, thank you.
Great show.
Cynthia Freeland, thank you. All our reporters in the field, my name is Andrew Siciliano. Enjoy the games, and we will see you next week, friends.